Let's talk about telecommunications in Nigeria. MTN Nigeria bouncing back to profitability in the first quarter of 2025, 133.7 billion naira in after-tax profit. You see the revenue there, over 1 trillion, 40% growth. Subscriptions, 3.2 million in the first quarter. Total subs, 84.1 million. The earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, 65% growth. CapEx outlay, we're going to talk about that too, 159% increase. And we're happy to have Mr. Karl Toriola, CEO of MTN Nigeria, with us to talk about the results plus more. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks, and happy Workers' Day to you. Thanks for joining us. Can we attribute some of this revenue, this big jump back past 1 trillion partially to the tariff increase?
Well, first of all, happy Workers' Day. Rotus, always good to see you and welcome back for your trip.
Thank you.
If you look back at 2024, we actually grew at 36% year-on-year, inclusive of the USSD debt recognition. So we're a bit similar to that pace. There's a little bit of the upside that we've seen in quarter one from the tariff increases. Just to put it into context, they were announced on the 8th of January. We started getting approvals on the 15th of February, and we've actually been implementing those into the month of early April. So there's a bit, maybe 2 weeks or so of the tariff increases in those numbers, but a lot of it is actually organic growth in line with what I mentioned, last year's performance, 36% of continuation of that.
Breaking down your revenues, the contributions, data, I mean, it's taken off now, over 50% contribution to top line revenue from data, but we did see a really big jump. Data jumped about 51% year on year, but big jump in digital, about 92%. Can you talk about the growth you're seeing in your digital portion?
So it's not the first time we've seen, I think for about 2 years consistently, we've been seeing somewhere around digital revenue being somewhere around 100% in growth. So that's been consistently there, but on a contribution basis, it's still relatively small, right, in the range of 2.5% contribution to total revenue. But yes, I mean, there's opportunities in content, in partnerships, which are driving our digital revenue, and we're always innovating in that space.
Yeah, very important contribution. You're always talking about this, and you talked about this last time on the show about your capital expenditure, wanting to invest more in networks. We saw that big jump. I think it was over 202 billion naira. 159. Thank you. Of course, you have the number off the top of your head. So can you talk? Is that a testament to what you've been talking about, that investment?
So this is the most important message that I want to deliver here. There was a clear understanding and expectation from our regulatory authorities that with the approval of the 50% tariff increases, we needed to address quality. And we're under clear and significant pressure, not just from our primary regulator, the NCC, but even from the security agencies around addressing the quality of service issues. So what you see, even though we hadn't started to see the cash coming in any significant, cash differential coming in any significant scale from the tariff increases, once the commitment was there, we have now committed to effectively, we'll probably do more than twice the capital expenditure that we did in 2023 and 2024 this year.
Oh, wow.
So the previous 2 years, about 440 odd billion. We'll probably get close to 900 billion, in that range, of course, depending on how our financials perform, with one primary objective, addressing the quality of service issues. And the quality of service issues are multifaceted. The first thing we needed to do is to be able to pay our bills, particularly diesel, etc., on an ongoing basis to prevent site outages. Last year, we were burning about 130% of the cash we were earning, so we're borrowing to actually keep the network going.
Yeah.
Now, with a gradual uplift and stability of the Naira in particular, we can cover those bills and start to invest aggressively. And investing means what? It means putting additional capacity. In a city like Lagos, particularly in Abuja, where you have a lot of buildings coming up, you need additional sites because there are coverage issues, resilience, and of course, through our tower core, ensuring that we have power stability. So this year is all going to be about capital expenditure on an aggressive basis to fix quality of service issues, meet both the regulators and the public's expectations. We've started that journey now. When you start to place orders, there's a process. You have to place the order formally, you have to open a letter of credit, then the equipment gets shipped in, it gets installed. If we have new sites to acquire, we have to acquire sites. If we have to lay fiber to the base station to creates better stability, we need to do that. So I think by the end of quarter two, early quarter three, you see really a significant improvement in quality of service, really through the tariff increase that was granted.
Okay, thanks for explaining this. So, I mean, that's the private sector side. On the public sector side, we've looked at NCC data on broadband penetration in Nigeria, which is still under 50%. Would it not make sense for the tariffs to go up further to allow you to be able to invest more in capital expenditure that will improve the network service? Wouldn't that make sense in terms of the negotiations to increase price adjustments?
So look, we had asked for 100% increase. We're very grateful to the authorities for giving us 50%. I think it's a process. The authorities want to see the quality of service improvements before we engage further on further tariff increases. But I think the need for sustainability in industry and pass-through of inflation through prices is clear. But it doesn't come for nothing. And we must demonstrate, MTN and the entire industry, our commitment to quality of service, addressing the issues that have been raised. And as we build that confidence, I think we'll be able to have those discussions. And like I said, by quarter three, I think we'll be talking again. Look, we don't expect drastic tariff increases if there's not drastic devaluation of the naira or change in the macro. So it will be much more measured over time. But the focus is quality of service. Yeah. We need to demonstrate, both with our capital expenditure commitment, but most importantly, with the customer perception, the customer experience, our commitment to this, to have a constructive engagement around that.
Makes sense, makes sense. We actually had Nisi Gabriel, and our correspondent in Kaduna had a report on the government there wanting to open up 3 million bank accounts as a part of a financial inclusion drive in Kaduna. You mentioned in your Q1, I was reading your comments there, in the Q1 results that MTN as well is planning financial inclusion for rural Nigeria. What's the plans there? What are you planning to do?
So look, let's be clear. Nigeria is a very, very advanced market when it comes to financial services. So there's a proliferation of offerings across the board. A lot of them are digital offerings where you use an app. And if you are in Lagos, Enugu, Port Harcourt, Kano City, Kaduna City itself, you see a lot of people have smartphones and are using those kind of solutions. But in rural areas, people don't have smartphones yet. So we, as part of our financial services strategy, of course, we want to pursue the urban opportunities, but with lots of people there, we have to be smart and offer something unique, where there's still a big opportunities around the rural areas. And I think in my mind, it's clear that the 3.2 million that Kaduna State is talking about is about the rural, the underserved, the non-digital customers who have not yet been brought into the financial ecosystem, and we think we have a big part to play in that.
Fantastic. You also, in the Q1 results, you talked about, and you even mentioned just a moment ago, the relative stability of the naira. Is that the biggest factor when you look forward to the rest of 2025 in terms of your outlook for performance of?
Look, you see, when we went to our EGM of our shareholders, we committed to a 5-point plan to address the negative shareholder funds position. And while we're back to profit, we're still in negative shareholder funds. I think it's very important to emphasize that. But through the course of this year, we'll clear that and we'll start to build distributable reserves so that we can pay dividends in due course. The 5-point plan involved, one, reduction of our foreign exchange exposure on trade lines. So we've gone from $450 million odd to $21 million odd on that. Check, done. Second was a reduction in capex. That is why, because we had this financial challenge last year, we only did about 440 billion naira of capex. This year, we're effectively going to come somewhere, broadly speaking, around doubling that. That was the second item. An expense efficiency program, which delivered about 41 billion naira in expenses. The renegotiation of our tower leases, which we completed last year, August, we announced it through the stock exchange. That has reduced significantly the volatility to the US dollars, and then finally the tariff increase. So we delivered everything that we committed to our shareholders. As long as we have stability, and that stability doesn't mean we stay stagnant. It means even just a gradual devaluation is fine. I think we can manage that. All corporate operators can manage that. And this tariff increase comes through, we'll rebuild our shareholder funds and we'll be in a good state. And I'm actually positive about this year from the corporate economic side of things. There's a few big things that have been done. The subsidy has been removed. painful for everyone,
Right.
MTN included, me personally included. But it removes a continued expenditure of 600 billion naira odd a month by the government. So government has more money to do other things, including service debt, etc. The second thing is you have free flow of US dollars in and out of the economy and easy price discovery, which builds confidence in investors. They can procure their equipment. We can procure our equipment easily to fund our network expansion program. And I think the tax reform bill is going to be good. So I'm optimistic about the direction. I think big things have been done to fix the basics of the economy. And this year, probably next, is going to be very good.
That should be my last question, but I want to squeeze one more out of you. The USSD back and forth with the banks, what's the latest on that? The debts that the banks owe the telcos or USSD?
That's fully resolved.
Done.
Mutually resolved between the telco industry, the banking industry, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the NCC. And I want to express our sincere appreciation to both regulators for resolving this. It's done. We recognize the revenue in full. We've received payment. And that's behind us. So we shouldn't need to discuss that with me anymore.
Fantastic. Putting that to rest. Mr. Karl Toriola, the CEO of MTN Nigeria, thank you so much for coming on a public holiday to talk to us. And congrats on bouncing back profitability. Thanks for the outlook. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.